Hello, Sarah.
Hey, Louise.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Summertime. Great stuff.
Summertime
Yeah,
in the living. Um,
little extra for you. We are on chapter 6. We're finishing this book.
this is it. This is our last chapter
Yeah.
review of Relinquished. Hey, before we get into this, let's give a quick preview of what's to come, which is in 2 weeks, will be our season opener, and we're
Mm-hmm.
starting with The Girls Who Went Away. So make sure you go out and get it if you want to read along, or if you already have it and you want to reread it. Join us starting
Yep.
July 2nd for our season opener. We will be rerunning one of our favorite episodes. All of them are our favorite episodes, but
Yeah, we're trying to highlight some episodes between seasons that maybe you've come to the podcast late or you've missed, or maybe you
hmm
haven't gotten there yet, but it's fun to hear them. It's fun for us, actually.
yeah, it
We have
is
some great
to
guests.
re-listen to.
To re-listen to. So we're on to parent the children we have. We're not going to go super deep into all of this. We're just going to read a few things that will stand out because we have our
We have, yeah,
wonderful.
Gretchen is, we
Hmm.
talked deeply with Gretchen about everything in the book, but in primarily like wrapping it up and where it's going.
Yeah.
But right out the gate, this is basically Gretchen's summary
Yeah.
of the book. Most of the mothers I interviewed identified as pro-choice, even if they were uncomfortable with abortion. And for many of them, the adoption had prompted them to see the necessity of abortion for others, if not for themselves.
Yeah. Very interesting.
She does talk a lot about feminism, right? And
Yes.
and how the white women-led reproductive rights and feminist movements have never held a critical analysis of adoption, nor have they made space
Yes.
for birth parents. Interesting, right?
Really, it got into really interesting. Like many such pro-choice organizations have not, unlike adoption agencies, believed there were people worthy and unworthy of parenthood and been
Right.
comfortable with having the choices of others constrained.
Right.
Like I mean, this is kind of the crux of this book is she went into this not having an agenda and
Right.
finding the research, which I think is very important for people to understand. I think that's she didn't because I know I'm sure there are people that say, well, she had an agenda. She did not. She's a researcher.
Right. She's
This
a
is
sociologist
right.
doing data research, and this is her conclusion.
Yep.
Um,
Well,
there.
here, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it shows Loretta Ross, one of the Black founding mothers of the reproductive justice movement, describes how reproductive justice goes beyond the debates about pregnancy choice to include work that fights equally for the right to have a child, the right not to have a child,
Mm,
and the right to parent the children we have, as well as the necessary enabling conditions to realize these rights.
yeah, right. Well,
Hmm
and by the way, we'd like to give a little shout out. Angela Tucker, fellow adoptee who a lot of people know, worked a little bit across this with Gretchen. I didn't know
Right.
that. I don't know that we knew that. So I just wanted to give this little highlight. In December 2021, Kate, this woman who is actually working for rights for the reproductive rights for women, Kate and I participated in a joint interview along with adoptee memoirist Angela Tucker and reporter Catherine Joyce to respond to the Justice Amy Cohen Barrett's questions in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization oral arguments, which this is kind of how this is running now
Right.
towards what we're going from is from since the Supreme Court decision, a lot has impacted this adoption industry as well.
Exactly. And there are organizations that are trying to provide
Yes.
tangible support while allowing mothers to feel critical about adoption, because that isn't often the case. Voices get shut down.
Yes.
Birth mothers, once they're out of the
Agendas.
right, and once they're out of the unicorn rainbow phase and start talking about it, they get shut down.
They get shut down.
Um,
It's like they're not important anymore. They have no resources going forward for themselves. If it's really about reproductive rights and helping women, we're not helping the women. But I mean, taking the adoptee out of it, we're not helping the women involved
right.
past a certain point. So,
Well, and here the reforms that many of the
mhm.
relinquishing mothers suggest,
Oh,
they
yes.
want real options for counseling that included information about abortion and, more important to them, concurrent parenting plans so that they felt they had access to all their adoptions throughout
Mhm.
their pregnancy and after giving birth, greater clarity around their legal rights, both before and after relinquishment, and a better understanding of the limits of openness agreements and what their
Mhm.
relationship with their child might be like. Longer revocation periods during which they could change their mind and regain their rights. You know,
Mhm.
there's just so much that doesn't happen that needs.
I like that she found that out by interviewing so many people. They want agencies to provide real life support for their mental health and well-being. And I didn't know this. We won't get totally into it, but I didn't realize some of them had to pay for things.
Well, right here, I was just going to go to
I'm
that. It says,
surprised.
um, many of their stories tell of agencies or adoption professionals who walk the murky line between the merely unethical and the outright illegal, revealing the ways
Oy.
in which current laws are insufficient in even minimally protecting the interests. She heard of stories of mothers being asked to sign papers consenting to the adoption before the baby was born, which
Yeah.
isn't legal. Other
No.
mothers had to sign contracts saying they would pay the would-be parents' legal fees if they
That's what
decided
shocked
to
me.
parent.
Yeah, I have a big highlight around that. I was surprised by that. I never heard of that.
I think I heard that
Did you
somewhere,
hear
maybe
it?
the Georgia Tan book. Of course, that doesn't make sense, but I don't know, somewhere,
Yeah.
American Baby. I don't remember.
It
The
struck me in
attorney,
here because here we are at the end of the book. I'm like, what?
I
I didn't,
know, still
another
being described.
injustice.
Another injustice. Some unscrupulous attorneys would
Oh, yeah.
aggressively encourage expectant parents to accept help paying for groceries and rent throughout the pregnancy. And then after the baby was born, present an itemized list of
I
expenses for which
know.
they would be responsible if they did not relinquish.
I mean, that is holding someone financially hostage.
Mm-hmm.
And one lady, here's one relinquishing mother tried to speak up publicly about the injustices she encountered. Her agency sent her a cease and desist letter. I mean, like, you know, an a this is the thing. This book kind of is the speaking up. That's how I like to think of it for
Yes,
these mothers,
yes,
you know?
yes, the voice.
Yeah.
Um, Beyond adoption reform, the advocacy to which most of Gretchen's
Mm,
participants felt deeply drawn was the work of family preservation or individual and societal efforts to create the conditions that allow people to parent the children they have.
yeah.
There's a lot. I
That's kind of
highlighted.
to parent the children we have. That's kind of sums it up because
Mhm.
I like her very last quote. It is a
Oh
long
yeah,
chapter.
very long. Yeah, I wanted to. You read the last quote. I have one more thing I want to
Yep.
read, which is also near that. I mean, really, most people are reading along, and we're having a conversation with Gretchen in just a minute. But this book may be uncomfortable reading for those
Oh,
who have never considered the practice of adoption deeply, and especially those families who have been happily formed by adoption. But neither the solidity, safety, and love of many adoptive families nor the stories of those happy adoptions negate that adoption is a practice rooted in inequity. If we understand adoption as a practice intended to meet the needs of children and not the dreams of would-be
mm-hmm.
parents, then the desires of those who wish to become parents through adoption are not truly relevant to whether adoption as it's currently practiced should continue to exist. Relinquishing parents do not owe anyone their children.
I like that. Maybe that's where we should end it, honestly.
Well,
I
I do
mean,
like what
she
she said at the very end
if we
about,
lived, if we
yeah,
lived, and if we lived in a more equitable world, a world shaped by reproductive justice, adoption would fade into obsolescence. I can't say the word. It would be obsolete and be
mhm.
viewed as a social and systematic failure. Having heard the stories of these relinquishing mothers, we can and must do better for them and their children.
Here, here.
Here, here. I mean, it's like, it's really powerful, the end. I mean,
Hmm.
just, I want to reread this now. It's
I know.
interesting. I feel like I'm going to revisit this book many times. And as you
Yes.
and I say, it needs to be a
Well,
reading for everybody.
I think I mentioned this in our conversation with Gretchen, but my niece who works with Title
Yes.
I children asked for some resources so that she could better understand them. So this I recommended this book for her
Yeah.
because these are current day children.
Yeah.
So little by little.
Yeah,
The word
maybe
gets out there.
it gets out there. Well, I'm excited about what's coming up and our next
Amen.
season and
And our
Kansas
next
City.
season.
There's
Yes.
so many great
Yes. And
things.
Kansas City.
All
So,
right. See you in a
okay.
minute.
See you in a minute.